It's funny as this story turns, and every couple hours a story adds, a new element. Tonight it was the president and in Michigan and fighting. He went to Michigan because Michigan is the automotive capital of the world. His policy, one of his standard policies, I remember watching his debates 4 years ago, and he said, we're going to eliminate fossil fuels. And I went, what? He told us one of the things I appreciate about Joe Biden. He told us 4 years ago what he was going to do. He was going to eliminate fossil fuels. He's trying by going all electric. So all electric ain't working out right now because electric vehicles aren't selling at the rate and level that they'd like. So they've got a noisy automotive crowd, UAW and others, in and around Detroit and the automotive region. That's hence Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, those states that have automotive manufacturing, which is part of the reason Joe's in Michigan tonight. He had to. I will bet you behind the closed doors he had a one-on-one with UAW leadership, probably with Barra, the lady that runs GM, and a few of the automotive senior level folks. He probably met with them independently to talk. That's my guess. Joe Biden came out tonight and said, I'm in it to win it, and I'm not going anywhere. And he gave a great speech. I watched it on Fox. I think he did a great job tonight. If I didn't know better, if I didn't watch the debate 2 weeks ago, I would have thought good campaign speech, good stump for Joe Biden. He delivered it tonight. And it gives Dems hope is what it does. But I've been watching, my name's Jeff, it's Westside Jeff, and for Chris Kroc. I've been watching my Republican friends, my conservative friends. I'm starting to hear this week Republican counterparts say things like they want Joe Biden to continue as Democratic nominee for November. They love Joe. And their thinking is Joe the candidate, there's no way Joe can win and Trump will be our next president again. I totally disagree. Don't underestimate the Democrats. They can pull it out. They can win. The Democrats can win this election. This ain't even close to being over. And if you think it is, shame on you. They can win. They can pull it out. And what's going on in the Democratic Party that looks like a dumpster fire to you and I think quite honestly can act as the opposite, unite them, turn things around, and they could rewrite the narrative. In part because they own the media. Not own like ownership. They own the media from a PR standpoint. The national reporting media have stopped being journalists and started being public relations assets for the president of the United States and the White House for the Democratic Party. When you own that, you own a lot. And when they're all reporting what you want and selling your policies and telling people Trump is bad, threat to democracy, he'll be a dictator day one, those kinds of things, that scare the bejesus out of people. So for swing voters who aren't as engaged as you and I, it can make an impact. He's going to take all women's rights away from him, abortion issues. He's going to send anybody that's in this country that not here legally back home. Most of the country doesn't want that. They want the borders under control. It reinforces Trump said dictator. I'm telling you, this race is not over. You got an opinion, I want to hear from you. If you think I'm right or wrong, I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear your perspective on that and why you think I'm right or why you think I'm wrong. You can hit me up across social media at Westside Jeff on Facebook, on X, on Instagram, or pick up the phone like Mike has and dial 800-288-9227. My phone number is 800-288-WBAP. Mike from Celeste, thank you for listening to the show tonight. Thanks for calling in. What are your opinion on this?
Well, I agree with you. Like I told you before the break there, poli-sci or political science was my major. I got a bachelor's in it, which of course means very little. But we actually studied how to cram fill ballot boxes, and I can't even convince my own sons who vote Republican that all those delays in the last election that they were stuffing it with write-in ballots and all those other ballots that didn't even vote on other candidates and things that were just purely for the president. But I mean, it goes back to Landslide Lyndon. He had people that had been dead 50 years voted for him. I mean, it's not hard with write-in ballots and the different polling places. I've been, I forget what you can call it now. It's been so long since I did it. Whenever you work in the polling place and you're
sure, you worked in the polls.
Yeah,
poll worker.
It's not a complicated thing to do that, and they have no integrity. I remember a professor standing up before us and saying, "We have to use these methods because we're the good guys. We're fighting for the little people. I mean, we have to commit voter fraud because we're the good guys." and the Democrats have been so effective in propaganda for the last 60 years, controlling American education, getting all these people out here to think that they're entitled to someone else's money, thinking that the government owes them a living. Well, I believe in taking care of the blind and children, but if a man is or a woman is grown and healthy, I'm just like the Bible says, if they're not going to work, neither let them eat. I have no complaint. I mean, even at that, I would still say I would go to the soup kitchens like we did in the Depression. I wouldn't let anybody starve. But as far as giving them money or giving them a place to live, we can't afford to do that. It's breaking us. I mean, I heard the other day on WBAP that the national debt now, paying the interest alone on the national debt is roughly equivalent to our military budget. That's
sickening.
To death.
It's sickening.
And I mean, it's just like...
And Trump and the Republicans are as much to blame as anybody else.
Well, and if anybody researches Boss Tweed in New York, or I can't remember the name of the man in New Jersey, or Huey Long in Louisiana, or Daley in Chicago, not to mention others that were around the country, it's obvious how easy it is to stuff a ballot box. And if they couldn't see what of course, my estimate, it could be off tremendously, but I would be amazed if there were not over 200,000 illegal votes in the last presidential election. And I would not be surprised to hear that it was over 1 million. But that's just my opinion. And, Jeff, I'll turn it back over to you. I agree with you. This is not over.
Mike, thanks for calling. I appreciate you calling and being part of the show. I agree with you. This race ain't over, and let me spell it out for you. If Biden, I come back to this, to our smart listeners. If Biden is that bad of a candidate and that injured, and Trump is that great, then why you find me a poll anywhere in this country that shows this race should be well over. If Biden is that bad and Trump are that great, there's no reason in the world you can't find a poll that shows 75% of potential voters would vote for Trump and 25% for Biden. That's quite the contrary. I follow polling. I look at polling daily. The latest polling I saw this week, the best Trump does, the best polling I see is Trump winning 46% of the vote, Biden 40%, Kennedy 7, Stein 1, and West 1. That's a 6-point win. So if the best polling at all shows Trump winning by 6 points, why is that? Why isn't it 25 points? This is a horrible president with horrible policies who supposedly has dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, whatever, and should not be running. Why is he still in this race? Why is it competitive? I'd love to hear your answer to that. For those of you who think it's done and over and this guy's gone, no. Biden's put up a hell of a fight, and the Democrats own the media. Listen, the media are a national talking point for the Democrats. So answer me this. How can this race even still be a race? How can it be a race when the best poll for Trump shows him up 6 points? If Biden is that bad, why is it still competitive? On the other side of this, I got a break on the other side of this. I'll tell you another angle to this and why it's important for the Democrats. And I'll tell you why they could potentially push Biden out. I got an argument how they can do it one way and do it another way. None of us know the answer how it's going to go down. I know one thing, the RNC's coming up. It's this coming week. I'll be in this chair Monday and Tuesday night covering it and talking about what's going on. But the Democrats are nervous, the Republicans are nervous, and I'm here to tell you, if you think this race is over, you're wrong. This race is competitive. Even today, and Biden can win it, and the Democrats can win it without Biden. I'll explain that in about 4 minutes. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. In for Chris Crocker, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. So Lori Waffenschmidt in the WBAP newsroom tells me that coming up in 12 minutes, she's got an update and a story on Joe Biden in Michigan and his Michigan rally, including some audio. Joe Biden looked pretty convincing tonight to me. I watched some of his rally in Michigan, unedited, straight up. Fox cut in, carried about 20 minutes of it. Joe Biden looked pretty good. This race is on. This is not over. It's not a done deal. The reason is Michigan's a swing state. I also saw the news today, some other news outside of just Joe Biden running for re-election. The Biden administration today announced they plan to award General Motors and Chrysler parent Stellantis nearly $1.1 billion in grants to convert existing plants to build electric vehicles and components. They announced that late yesterday, and it came out today. Now, the Department of Energy announced $1.7 billion in planned grants to help fund the conversion of 11 quote-unquote at-risk plants in 8 states to enable the production of 1 million EVs annually. That helps them retain 15,000 existing jobs and create 3,000 new positions. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, by the way, who's from Michigan, told reporters the awards were a quote-unquote hallmark of the Biden administration's industrial strategy and would modernize historical automotive manufacturing facilities. You want to know why Joe Biden's in Michigan today? He's trying to win the election. He's trying to fundraise. He's trying to solidify his base. He's appealing to the Palestinian population in Michigan, which is heavy. He's appealing to the UAW, which is dominant in Michigan. He's appealing to automotive manufacturing, which is what Michigan is all about. It's all tied together. I'm making an argument Joe Biden can win this election. It's not done. So when he says I'm in it to win it, he could stay in. I could also tell you a scenario where they push him out. And the scenario is this. And what happens? I'd love your input on this. You think I'm all screwed up in what I'm thinking? I want to hear. Or if you like what you're hearing, if you think I'm spot on, I want to hear that too. 800-288-9227. 800-288-WBAP. Joe could stay in it and can win this election. He's coming off as a fighter. He's coming off in a way that Democrats love it. And he's got the media on his side, the national reporting media. They are his public relations arm. They are very anti-Trump, anti-Republican, and they'll give him all the time, that positive reinforcement time that he needs to sell his message. And you're continuing to see that. You see it across your social media feed. You're seeing it on your news. You're hearing it on the radio, and you're reading it in the paper. The national reporting media is a public relations arm of the Democratic Party and the Joe Biden administration. But there's a chink in the armor, one of the chinks in the armor. There's 3, actually, because Joe Biden has 3 constituents to stay in the race. He's got to continue to sell. And it's not done by just one visit in Michigan. It's a continual sales message. The 3 constituencies are polling, and that's you and I. Donors, and that's fundraising, part of why he's in Michigan. And third is support on Capitol Hill. That's House and Senate leadership. Now, let me tell you this. The Senate leadership, every year there are Senate races across the country. This year, there are 33 U.S. senators up for election. 33 senators up for re-election this November. 23 of them are Democrats or caucus as Democrats. So from a pure vulnerability standpoint, this is a vulnerable election. Because you have 23, it's actually 19 Democrats up for re-election. 4 independents who caucus with Democrats are up for re-election. 23 out of 33 Senate seats are up for re-election this fall, for November 5th, are Democrats. If they perceive that they're going to lose those down ballot races, when I say down ballot, I mean U.S. House of Representatives and U.S. Senate. It's a foregone conclusion. We've got the House right now today, and it's expected we should pick up some votes there. But the Senate is 50-49, or 50-50, and it's Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker. So it's a Democratic Senate, quite honestly, because of the vice president. The Dems don't want to lose the House, which they've lost, but they don't want to lose it more, and they don't want to lose the Senate. They certainly don't want to lose the top of the ticket. So if they perceive as time goes that these polling continues to move towards Trump, if they continue to see fundraising go away from them and people sit the sidelines, like what we've seen over the last couple weeks, including this week George Clooney, and if the Senate and House members here get an earful in their districts and continue to feel they're going to lose their race, that's a trifecta. That trifecta will be pressure that the Biden re-election campaign can't avoid, and they could potentially push hard enough to make him want to leave. They can't force it, but if they apply enough pressure, they certainly can make movement. And if they do, what happens? There's a lot of things that can happen. Here's a winning formula for you. Hear me out on the got to hit the bottom of the hour news. On the other side of that, I want to hear what you think of my theory. I'm going to spell it out for you. Again, bottom of the hour, in about 3 minutes, we've got a newscast coming up with Lori Waffen-Schmidt in the newsroom. She tells me she's covering the story about the Biden Michigan rally and some audio on that and what Biden had to say. And you hear it for yourself. Biden sounds really good, damn good. Here's my theory, though. The later, first and foremost, is the later they wait, the more it plays to their advantage. Because if they pull a switcheroo, if they could potentially pull a switcheroo now, and if it happens now, my prediction, it happens next week during the RNC. If you want to take steam out of Donald Trump's sails, you have Biden step down on Thursday, the day of the coronation of Donald Trump, and you usurp Donald Trump's nomination with the media. At this late date, I don't think that happens right now because Biden's out on the trail and he's adamant. On the other hand, I think it happens like this, potentially. The later it happens, the better it could be for them. We got Obama, we got Bill Clinton because there wasn't enough time on the clock for Republicans to do their reconnaissance to come up with enough dirt to reestablish and reposition those guys. They were unknowns. This is another one of those elections. So if they pop somebody in place who's a relative unknown, who doesn't have a long history of politics, that the entire party rallies behind, they can win this election. Without Biden, they could win. Example, Wes Moore, governor in Maryland, put him at the top of the ticket, leave Kamala number 2. Or take Andy Beshear, governor in Kentucky, put him at the top of the ticket. You take a little-known governor, doesn't have a lot of baggage, put him at the top of the ticket, get the Democratic Party to rally behind him, they could win with that ticket because they have money, resources, and the media on their side. On the other side of this, I want to continue the conversation. I want to hear what you think. And do you agree or disagree? What are your thoughts on that? 800-288-9227. It's 800-288-WBAP. My name's Jeff. It's Westside Jeff. And for Chris Crocker, News Talk 820, WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. So I ask you the question I asked before the news, before Lori did the news. If Joe Biden's the worst, he's the worst president of my lifetime. But if his candidacy is that bad, then why is it this race is still a toss-up? If the Republican ticket had an elite candidate, I mean a phenomenal candidate, this would be over. It would be, polling would show 75-25, but that's not the case. Literally, I turned off the mic about 6 minutes ago. And I opened up my X account, Twitter, formerly known as Twitter. And I see a post from The Hill. The Hill is a publication in D.C. that follows politics. Pretty reputable firm. And their post, I retweeted it. If you want to see it, you can check it out on X, You can find me at Westside Jeff on X, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So I retweeted it with my comment. And their original message, their original tweet and the link says presidential race and statistical deadlock 2 weeks after debate. So I read the story. The story's up on the Hill website. 2 weeks after the 2 weeks after the worst debate of a lifetime, 2 weeks after Joe Biden gets up and proves to America that his mental acuity's not there. He's got Alzheimer's. You call it what you want. My opinion is he's got Alzheimer's, dementia, whatever it is. He's not all there. 2 weeks later, the race between Biden and former President Trump is nearly tied. 2 weeks after that first presidential debate, a new survey finds that. Now, the survey conducted by Marist National Poll. This was for NPR and PBS. Yes, I get it. You're going to tell me those are leftist organizations, Jeff. Yes, they are. Found that among registered voters, the race is still incredibly close, despite the chaos between Biden and his poor debate performance. When asked if the general election were held today, 50% of those voters, again, NPR and PBS News did this study, did this poll. 50% of the voters say they would cast their ballot for Biden. Trump earned 48%. 2% are undecided. They got Biden up 2%. Now, yeah, I know you're going to say I'm a lefty. You're going to say I'm full of it. I don't know what I'm talking about. I can tell you this. I've gone to multiple sites that post all these polls, and I've gone through the last week's worth of polling. And when I look at the poll where Trump does best, it was Trump basically plus 6 points. Now, why is it? I got to ask you this question. I want you to answer. I want you to ponder this. If you're one of those real hardcore Trump, and Trump's going to win person, and you just are convinced till the end of the world, Trump's going to win, then answer me this question. Why hasn't one poll, not one, you can't find one, shown Trump up by 20 points? You can't find one Trump up by 15 points because he's not. Why is it the Democrats are still competitive? I say it's because of policy. I say a couple things. Number one, it's policies. They're just some people voting policies. You want to weigh in on this? 800-288-9227 is the number. 800-288-WBAP. Answer me that question. Why can you not find me a poll that shows Trump is up 20 points, 15 points, 18 points, 12 points? Every poll you look at is going to be plus 2 or 3 for Trump, maybe 4. I found 6. You might even find Biden plus 1. It's a statistical tie, according to The Hill. I just retweeted that. You can find it on my Twitter account or X account at Westside Jeff. So if Biden is that bad of a candidate and Trump's that great, why is it no poll shows Trump plus 20, 25 points? Tells me Trump may not be that elite candidate we think. Because I'm hearing all my Republican counterparts. I'm hearing all the talking heads. I'm hearing all my friends say they want Joe Biden to continue as a Democratic nominee because they think Trump can beat him. To me, that just doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't root for the other guy to get his brains blown out. I root for a good race. I root for a good storyline. Yeah, I want the Republicans to win. I want Trump to win. I'll be voting for him again for the third time. But I want you to think about that for a moment. Do you really want the opponent to be so bad, such a horrible candidate that our guy wins? The closest analogy I can give you is this. The Cowboys. The Cowboys have played the Washington Redskins, now the Washington Commanders team. And the Washington Redskins or Commanders team has been a dumpster fire for 20 years. Going back to 2000, the Redskins, I'll call them the Redskins, have won 15 games against the Cowboys. They played 48 times. The Redskins only won 15. The Cowboys own the Redskins. They own them. The Redskins have been a dumpster fire, one of the worst teams in the NFL. Do you really feel good about beating a team that doesn't have players, doesn't have coaches, doesn't have the bandwidth to compete with any other team in the league? Listen, I'm not rooting for the Democrats. I'm not rooting for Joe Biden. I'm not rooting for that. But by God, if they win, I at least want good policies. You know? So I want a better quality candidate. Bill Clinton wasn't horrible. Obama was not great. Joe Biden's the worst of my lifetime. Any polling you look at is going to tell you that it's still a race. It's still tight. And I can give you an argument how Biden can win and the Democrats rally behind him. And it's much as anything about Trump. They hate Trump. The little orange man. They will do every... You heard, what was it, Whoopi Goldberg said this week, I think it was, I don't care if Biden's in diapers or incapacitated, I'm voting for Biden. There are just people that feel that strongly about it. And when you hear that passion, yeah, I get it's Whoopi. But I can tell you this. I know many Republicans who've told me they can't vote for Trump. Many. 800-288-9227 is the number. I'd love to hear your opinion. I see Jason. Jason, I'll get to you after I got to hit a break here in a moment. I want to give you time. I don't want to take a phone call from you and then cut you off because I got to hit a break. So, Jason, sit tight with me, if you will. Garrett, producer, let him know that I'll get to him after I take a quick break. But again, I come back to the question of this. If Donald Trump is that elite of a candidate and Biden is that bad, why is it not 70-30, 75-25, 80-20? This is still a race. And I got an argument how they should replace Biden. I think they will. I think Biden's not the guy. I think they pull a switcheroo. I don't think they do it sooner than later. If they did, it would be this week during the RNC. If there's a time to do it, it'd be Thursday, the day that Trump takes the coronation, becomes the nominee. You want to supplant Trump? All you got to do is have Joe step down and somebody else take over. I think it comes probably after the DNC is my guess. But I just don't think Joe's going to be the guy. And I think they put a little unknown person in there somewhere. I think they probably use their talking point of democracy and have some kind of an open forum, some kind of a little mini primary within the delegates and call it democracy working, because that's their point against the Republicans. And I just don't think Joe's going to be the guy. I think it changes out, and I think it comes down to down ballot races. 33 senators are up for election this cycle. 23 of them are Democrats. And the more polling we see about Democrats losing, if they perceive they're going to lose 4 or 5 seats in the Senate, there'll be a switcheroo quick. That's my opinion. I want to hear yours in about 4 minutes. My name's Jeff, Westside Jeff, and for Chris Crocker, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. The name is Jeff. It's West Side Jeff. And for Chris Crock, I'll be back Monday and Tuesday night as Chris fills in for Casey Bartholomew during the day. And I get a chance to sit in Chris's chair. Chris will be back Wednesday night as Casey returns. Top of the hour coming up, Lori Waffen-Schmidt has a story in the news about Biden continuing to lose support from Democrats. And more Democrats have come out and said Joe needs to step aside. Does he or doesn't he? I just shared a moment ago my thought. My thought is a couple things. Polling continues to show, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Republican poll or a Democratic poll, polling shows this is still a fight. Joe's still in this race. Joe's polling okay. In some cases, he may be a point ahead. In most polls, Joe is trailing by 1 to 3 points. The biggest lead I've found is 6 by Trump. My question to you is this. If Joe's that bad, Trump's that great, why are we not seeing any polls that show 80-20? I mean, I wake up every day and go, how can people be so stupid and not see what's going on? Why is it not 80-20, 75-35, even 70-30? Why is it still a race? I contend the Democrats own the national media talking points because the national media, the reporting media, national reporting media, the White House reporters, they've been public relations arms for the Democratic Party and for the Biden White House. They own them. The Dems own them. So they've got that. They've got money. They put Joe in office because Joe at the time was a moderate 4 years ago. They were scared to death. Democrats were scared to death of Bernie Sanders, AOC. So Clyburn and some of the others stepped in and said, Joe is a moderate. Let's put Joe in there. I think the Democrats can still pull this out, and that scares me. That concerns me. And it should scare and concern you. I want to hear what you think at 800-288-9227, 800-288-WBAP, like Jason from Frisco. Jason, thanks for listening. You're on with Westside Jeff.
What's going on, Westside? Hey, man, I love listening to Mr. Croc, but if he's not on the air, you are a fantastic substitute. So if no one's told you that when they call in, shame on them. But a couple things. A, the polling. I don't trust it. I've never been called on a poll. I've never been asked about who my preference is, never had an email. So I think you're right about the DNC and the media kind of controlling what that narrative is. And B, I think, honestly, Joe Biden is going to be the nominee. If you're a deep state Marxist guy, and you had all the money in the world, and you had the leader of the free world on the end of some puppet strings, what are you going to do? Get rid of him? No.
Nope.
I mean, the guy will sign anything, say anything. He's the most useful of idiots. And that's why we're going to have him in 2024, facing off against Trump.
Well stated, Jason from Frisco. Thank you for listening. Thank you for calling, and I appreciate the compliment. I hear your argument, and I could see it playing out. Joe is kind of a puppet. He was put in that position because he's a moderate. I get it, and they can control him. That's exactly correct, and I could see that happening. But I could also see it going the other way. Mike from Houston, you're on with Westside Jeff on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM 93.3. What's your thought?
Hey, Jeff. Yeah, sorry if there's some noise. I'm driving. I'm going to try to talk clear. Hey, everything you're saying is spot on. It's not that you're wrong on that. I'm just wondering, why are you pushing for 20 points? I did a little quick research. Man, Nixon won by 23 points, and since then, you don't get these kind of leads. I think you're just being a little flamboyant. But you're not wrong. I mean, you're right on everything. The media, it's tough to get through as a Republican to get fair shake in the media. I also do think, Whoopi actually, as much as I, would hate to agree with Whoopi, I think she's spot on as well. The Democrats will vote on policy. And I don't agree with the policies. None of us agree with those policies. But they do have a strong 43%. And then, it divides down the middle. I would love Trump to have a 6-point lead. That would be amazing. When he pulls over 50%, I get giddy because that guy couldn't get 50% against Hillary, right? Never broke 50%. He lost the popular vote, but what did he win by? I want to say 80 electoral votes, up or down. Yeah. So, but for me, it's battleground states, and we know Trump's winning. Michigan's really close.
Yeah, Pennsylvania's close. Wisconsin,
right. And
North Carolina.
I mean, it's kind of. Right. I think it's a little bit of a joke, but I don't know if you're buying into it, but they're saying some of these blue states, even New York, are becoming battleground states. And
no way.
Those sort of things make you smile. There's a story today. It's a story today. Now, I agree with you, no way, but the point about it, when they even talk about it, it gives me a nice little smile. But,
Mike, thank you for listening. I appreciate you calling, and thanks for your opinion. And thanks for being part of the show. To answer your question of why I'm calling for 20 points, because I think this is the worst president of my lifetime, and I think a really good Republican candidate should be up 20 points. But you're right. The Democrats vote policy, but they also vote because they hate Trump. Kim from Dallas, you're on News Talk 820 WBAP. Thanks for listening. What's your thought?
Well, you just stole my thunder. I think.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. I think Joe Biden will be the nominee because they can't force him out. He's got all the leverage. I mean, why would he not run? And I also think the Republicans are underestimating how much people truly hate Donald Trump. A lot of people just hate him.
Yep.
And they would vote for their grandmother's dog instead of Donald Trump. And I also think the Republicans are not clearly evaluating how important the abortion issue is to
I agree with
women.
you. Spot on.
So I think if they're not careful, they can lose this.
Spot on. Kim, thanks for calling. I appreciate being part of the show. And I'm glad our listeners agree with me on this, because I get pissed off and tired of every time I turn on Fox News and they say, it's over, it's done, he's going to win. No, he's not. I'm not willing to sit here November 15th and look back and say, where were all these people? We can't afford to lose this. That's my opinion. It's Westside Jeff.